Hey everybody, it's your boy Serg Dragon, and welcome back to another edition of the Heavens Monsters podcast. With me today is Chris Petrie.
Too sweet.
And Xavier Hill.
Once again, MVP is in the ring, so that can only mean one thing. Big things popping, little things stopping. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the view, because the Heavens Monsters podcast is for people better than you.
Today we're going to cover Part 1 of AEW Fyter Fest on July 1st, 2020. So, we kick off the night with, of course, on commentary, broadcast. I always got that word wrong for a second. Excalibur, Tony Schiavone, and Jim Ross, along with the guest of the league champion, Chris Jericho. I guess because he's not fighting Orange Cassidy yet, he's going to do it in part 2. Which is this Wednesday. That's cute. That's cool. We kick off the night with the Jurassic Express, Luchasaurus, and Jungle Boy with Marco Stunt versus MJF and Wardlow. The match would go back and forth until finally, thanks to MJF trying to boss around Wardlow and try to cheat using the ring, he almost got Jungle Boy. Until, whoop, here comes Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus behind him. He pushes MJF into Wardlow and he punches him, unintentionally knocking out Wardlow. Then they work on MJF and they get the win. Woohoo! Let's see. All four men pushed each other on that one to the limit, said Tony Schiavone. Yep, the dynamite diamond ring. That's what it's called. Your thoughts on that, Xavier?
Man, that was one hell of a match for the Express. And by the way, I didn't see this live because I missed it, but I did watch it on demand the next day.
Nice. What about you, Chris?
It's a good win by the Jurassic Express, beating MJF and Wolo.
You want to take the next one, Xavier?
Let's see, what's the next match?
Hikaru Shida, the women's AEW champion.
Hikaru Shida versus Penelope Ford for the AEW Women's Championship. Referee Aubrey Edwards wasn't talking any guff from Kip Saban and ejected him before the opening bell. The match began with fire as Shida immediately connected on a running knee in the center of the ring. The champ attempted to finish it quickly on a Falcon Arrow slam, but Ford escaped out the back before impact. Ford fought hard to control the middle chunk of the bouts. She even made me believe she would win the belt after taking a Falcon Arrow, but reversing Shida's pin into a roll-up. If Ford was going to win, they would have been a perfect moment as a surprise upset. Ford also had a dope Matrix dodge of a flying dropkick. In the end, Ford tried tricks to get her lover man back involved. She exited the ring to fidget with the championship. Referee Edwards followed the Domish and cheating. So the winner of that match was Hikaru Shida. She retained her AEW Women's Championship.
Yeah, they tried to cheat throughout the whole damn match. Didn't do him a lick of good.
Nope.
Your thoughts on that, Xavier?
Very happy for Hikaru Shida and Penelope Ford not trying your boyfriend sticking his nose into your business. But your plan had definitely backfired.
Your thoughts, Chris?
I happy that Sheeta is still the champion. That means scenario 4 had to be back in the line and let someone else challenge the champion.
Oh, yeah.
I wonder where we are going to come back.
Good point. Next up, we have for the AEW TNT Championship match with the American Nightmare Cody Rhodes with the American Family in his corner and Arl Anderson defending it. He has to fight against Big Hurt, the Inner Circle's member Jake Hager, with his wife, and excuse me if I pronounce this wrong, Catalina Hager. She's the one who splashed that water. Hey, how you pronounce it?
Hager.
One more time.
Catalina. Catalina.
Yeah, I'm having pronunciation problems, bro. That's what I'm saying. Catalina. Thank you. She was the one that threw a glass of water or something in Cody's face during that showcase. You saw that?
I've seen it.
Man, disrespect. But here's what's funny. Cody Rhodes had Arl Anderson as well as his brother in the corner, but what's funny is how the match ended. Knowing the fact that Cody Rhodes had everyone around him distracting Jake Hager. Jake Hager couldn't even focus on the match. He was constantly looking at everybody else. And when Cody Rhodes got the drop on him and pin him, his wife and Jake Hager, as well as Chris Jericho on commentary, were saying that it wasn't fair, that they're cheating. This was a rigged match. And a lot of people would debate, was it? Some would say yes, because they had all of them outside arena. But a lot of people would say no, because Jake Hager was not focusing on Cody. Your thoughts, Xavier?
Man, that was a great match, especially what happened at the end. So Jake Hager thought that he had pinned Cody Rhodes, but Cody Rhodes reversed that shit, bro. And he retained his TNT championship. And you won't believe what happened at the end. Jake Hager got into a heated argument with the referee saying that he pinned Cody 1, 2, 3, and then boom, Jake Hager knocked the referee the fuck out. And that got Jake Hager suspended for 10 days.
Oh, yeah.
First Sammy Guevara, now Jake Hager. Which member of the Inner Circle will be suspended next?
Your thoughts, Chris?
Yeah. Jake Hager should have gone down, count to 10, but nailing an official was a bad idea. And now he is suspended. Now, how many Inner Circle who might get suspended next?
We'll have to wait and see. Next is involving Freshly Squeezed. You got that, Xavier?
Let me see. I think it's Proud and Powerful versus Private Party.
Okay, then I'll cover Freshly Squeezed real quick. Courtesy of the match that they're going to have next Wednesday, Freshly Squeezed Orange Cassidy is right there on commentary mocking Chris Jericho. And Chris Jericho is trying to keep his cool, but he can't because Cassidy's right there. So as the more that Cassidy just sits there, the more it riled up throughout that match with Private Party and Pride and Powerful. So with that said, I'll leave it to you, Xavier, to run that match.
Yep. Proud and Powerful versus Private Party. I can't empathize how much Private Party's new song is then its old song, but his new song is tailor-made for a live crowds, and it's awkward to hear their song without chanting shots because there's no audience because of COVID-19. This awesome tag team match and division makes me think that AEW should consider a secondary tag team title. The match's subplot saw Orange Cassidy do next to nothing as Jericho. And yeah, that's all it says right here.
Oh? Let me see. Well, by memory, I know for a fact that Matt Hardy was walking down the arena with Private Party. And when Ortiz got in the face of Matt Hardy, that kind of cost them the match because Private Party weeded out. If I'm correct here, let me read here. Santana and Ortiz tried to wrap up the match with the street sweeper, but Private Party countered and won with their gin and juice finisher after a fury of offense. Let me see what happened with Hardy. Ortiz fought back with blah, 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 blah. Santana sent Cassidy crashing into the steel barricade. Santana and Ortiz tried to use the stuffed sock Madball, but Matt Hardy pulled it from their hands. There you go. That's what Matt Hardy did. After the Private Party won the match, Jericho, as it says, went irate as seeing members of the Inner Circle lose their match. Le Champion threw his drink at Orange Cassidy. Freshly squeezed, snugged it off, and Jericho had to be held back. Jericho screamed repeatedly, "Next week! Next week! Next week!" Your thoughts on that, Xavier?
Man, that was funny how Chris Jericho went crazy while he was in commentary with Excalibur, Jim Ross, and Tony Schiavone. I think Chris Jericho should become a commentator whenever he retires from in-ring competition.
Oh, yeah. Definitely a color commentary. Your thoughts, Chris?
Chris Jericho should be in a loony bin, being crazy on Cassidy. I agree. I'm waiting for Chris Jericho to retire.
Alright. Oh, and this would be an interesting change of plans. Here we have Taz and Brian Cage coming out to actually inform the AEW fans that the match between Jon Moxley and Brian Cage will be postponed 2 weeks from now at, I think it's called Final, where's it? Fight for the Final. Because something's going on. Jon Moxley had, and this is what Taz says, Jon Moxley had tested himself twice for the COVID-19. Twice. And is trying to point out that everybody needs to be safe and so on and so forth with this epidemic. Taz then twists it around saying that he's only doing this to hide the fact that he's scared of getting beaten up and owned as a bitch by Brian Cage and having his title stripped from him. But that's no problem. They're not mad. They understand. Come 2 weeks at that event on AEW Dynamite, I think it is, on TNT, Brian Cage will get his title shot without fail. Your thoughts on that, Xavier?
I still want Jon Moxley to win and retain his title because I know he's been doing a great job. He's also undefeated in AEW. I know Moxley has not lost one match since he got signed to AEW.
Nice. Your thoughts, Chris?
Well, Moxley is not the only one who's undefeated. Brian Cage is undefeated.
Oh, good point. Good point.
So we might have two undefeated versus undefeated for the AEW World Heavyweight Championship. And which one of them is going to lose? Moxley or Cage?
I'm glad you mentioned that because that's what happened with Brody Lee. When he was freshly introduced into AEW, he had a hot streak because of the fact that he was undefeated and he was this individual that could not be stopped. Jon Moxley did put a stop to him and his winning streak and retained his title. So, will we see a repeat of that with the newly signed Brian Cage, or will Brian Cage live up to the words of Taz and dethrone Jon Moxley? We have to wait and see. All right, next up in Fyter Fest, I think is the main event for the tag team titles. Xavier, take it away.
Kenny Omega and Hangman Page versus the Cleaner. Hangman Page and Kenny Omega versus the Best Friends.
Chuck Taylor and Trent.
The Best Friends gets dropped off for the match by Trent's mom and her band. Taylor and Omega kicks things off with some friendly mat wrestling. They exchange arm drags, and then Page and Trent tag in. They exchange strikes, and Trent caps it off with a back suplex. Chucky T tags in and gets a series of near falls on Page. Page and Omega hit a series of strikes, and Omega hits a leg lariat on Trent, and then a shooting star press from Page for a near fall.
Leg lariat? That means he clotheslined him with his leg.
Yes.
Continue.
FTR come out to the announce table with a cooler to watch this match as Omega puts the boots to Trendy lock. Trent nails Page with a lariat out of the corner and then catches Trent with a spinning DDT. Taylor tags in and tosses Page to the floor, followed by a somersault onto the champs. Taylor eats a pump kick from Omega, but Trent hits a toe suicide onto Omega and then shoves him into a belly-to-belly suplex into Page, sending them both crashing into a barricade. Taylor drags Page into the ring and hits a Minakanu driver for a near fall.
Ooh.
Page comes back with a toe suicide onto Taylor on the floor and hits a lariat on Page in the ring. Omega comes off the top with a missile dropkick on Trent after a blind tag. Omega hits a Fisherman's Buster for a near fall. Omega hits a rolling fireman's carry and then goes for a diving moonsault. But Trent gets his knees up and tags out. I believe the winners of that match was Kenny Omega and Hangman Page retained their AEW Tag Team Championship. Page hits a dead eye for a near fall. Page kills Trent with a buckshot lariat for the pin.
Look who's here!
Mikey.
He should got done with his chores at the end of the podcast, bro. So, we just covered AEW's night 1 of Fyter Fest. What do you have to take from that, Mikey?
Wild and crazy show.
Indeed. So, prior to what you said, Xavier, with the victorious Kenny Omega and Adam Page beating the Best Friends, what did you think of the match?
I definitely enjoyed that main event. So, who's going to be next in line to face Kenny Omega and Hangman Page for the AEW Tag Team titles? We just have to wait and see.
Your thoughts, Chris?
enjoy the classic tag team matches with Kenny Omega and Hangman Page and Best Friends. After that, it was a big celebration. FTR gave Adam Page and Kenny Omega some beers, but Kenny Omega, he didn't like that beer. He poured it out. He's not a beer drinker.
He did. That did happen, and they started beating up the hell out of him, didn't they?
Yeah, they was arguing. Yeah.
I'm sorry. That would have been me. I would have been like, give me a smoothie over a beer. Give me a soda over a beer. You can keep it. Here's 2 for you. I'll get something else.
A smoothie?
Hey man, I love my sweets.
Serg Dragon is not an alcohol person.
I'm not a drunk dragon. I'm a dragon with a sweet tooth.
But my take is it was okay between Kenny Omega and his team, but like you said, we don't know who's next in line for Kenny Omega and for the next AEW Tag Team title.
Ooh, yeah. In which case, let's go ahead and to you, Mikey, the thing I think would be most impactful besides Chris Jericho being on commentary and having a field day, is the words of Brian Cage represented by Taz. Say that reverse. The words of Taz representing Brian Cage. Forgive me for that. In which case, yeah, you know what's going to happen in 2 weeks?
Go. What is it?
Brian Cage versus John Moxley, because their match was postponed. They're going to be for Fight for the Final in 2 weeks.
I just hope John must do his best.
Yeah. All right, then. I wish to thank Xavier for staying up this late. I do apologize for keeping you up, bro. Next time, we'll try and get this done earlier on my part, okay? So, you ready to go to bed, bro? So with that said, shout out to our fellow brethren of the Heavens Monsters podcast, Xavier Hill, Mike Henry, and
Andre Mitchell. A link to our 3 YouTube channels will be in the descriptions down below, as always. And remaining shout out to Chris Petrie right here, Terrence, aka T-Money, Renee, Barrow, and Delvin.
That said, you like this video, give it a thumbs up. You didn't, give it a thumbs down. Hit the subscribe button, you like the content, and hit that notification bell for the next Heavens Monsters podcast. I'm Serg Dragon. This is Mike Henry. This is Chris Petrie. This is Xavier Hill. We'll see you next time. Bye.